Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a different one in terms of theme. It's not going to be around beauty or makeup products. As you can see by the title, I am going to be talking about cinema unlimited viewings clubs. So I have been a member of the ODEON Limitless scheme for approximately a year now. I remember me and my boyfriend were talking about it and we were like, well, do we get it? Is it going to be worth the money? Are we going to use it? Because obviously that's a big concern, like you're paying a set amount per month to use this product. But we did in the end decide to go with that. So it's really just to give my thoughts on my experience of Limitless, how it's been, do I think it's worth the money, how does it compare to other companies' similar products. The only one that I am aware of is the Cineworld one, but I will discuss what that's about. I've had a little look at their terms and conditions to see some differences, but they are quite similar. I've been a member of the Limitless Club, so you get a little blue card like this when you sign up. Has your name on it, your membership number, and then the issue date. So mine was the 8th of February 2017. I pay $17.99 a month for this. The catch with the ODEON one, I don't know if this is the same for the Cineworld one, is you have to have it for 12 months. So you can't sign up and then think after a couple of months, it's not for me, I'll cancel it. That's not the case, you do have to have it for 12 months. So that was a bit like, in my decision, is what if I don't use it, what if I don't like it? I mean, I love films, I did film at university, so for me it was something I pretty much was sure I was going to use. People who tend to just go to the cinema casually, I can see why maybe that's very off-putting. But no, so we went ahead, we got it. I would say for the first couple of months we used it so much, we would go and we were watching anything. Well, that was rude. I don't know if that picked up on the microphone, but someone just tooted the horn outside and I don't know why. And now I've lost my train of thought. So for the first couple of months we were using the membership, we would go on loads, we were seeing anything we really fancied, whether it was something that potentially if we didn't have this we'd probably just hold off and wait for it to appear on Netflix, is kind of the hope we always throw out. And then I'd say over summer we stopped going as much, I think, and then in about September, October we started going a little bit more because films were starting to come out that we wanted to see. At ODEON we went to a couple of the screen unseen ones because I thought, you know what, if it's included in Limitless and we're not sure what we're fancying, what we want to see, why don't we just do that? So we went to two. We went to just a normal one, and then we went to a scream unseen, and they're really good because obviously you go in and like the clues on ODEON's Twitter and Facebook are so vague, it's like I haven't guessed one yet, but that's good. So we started using that, and then my housemates got it, so we started going with them, and it kind of like prompted us to go and be like, oh well, should we just go? The reason why behind I wanted to get this was, it's just like at the end of the month, you know, when you're like, oh, I don't really have any money left, and you're kind of like, oh, well, what can we do to stay in the house? And this is a really good thing to have because you can just be like, oh, well, we have no money, but we've paid for this, we might as well just go watch a film. The exclusions with the ODEON Limitless is that you can't see 3D and IMAX films for free. You do have to pay an extra amount on top. Now, I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head, how much that is, but it will vary on depending on film. What happens with ODEON as well is they do give you discounts. This month in February I think it is 30% off natural combos, so it does give Limitless customers that opportunity to sort of get a bit of discount on food and make this experience at the cinema a little bit more fun. If you want to call it even food fun. Yeah, I'd call it even food fun. But yeah, so that's also a bonus. With it as well, you can book in advance. I've got the app. I'm just going to get it up on my phone because I just didn't think to do this. So the app, I'll bring it back. So the app's like this. So what you have to do is, like, it shows all the cinema. So you pick your cinema. It shows the showing. So say we wanted to see Darkest Hour. You'd click onto the time there, it asks you to log in, but then it shows you as well how busy the screen is. I do apologise, I was just looking at the screen and sure you could see it. So it does show you how busy the screen is as well, which I think is quite handy because then you can sort of determine whether you need to book in advance. I know we booked the Star Wars double bill really far in advance because we wanted to see it on opening night. The only letdown I would say with the app is you can't book yourself and your friend who's got Limitless on the same app. You have to do it separately, so you have to sit side by side in a room, pick a chair, and then the other person has to go in and pick the chair next to you. So that's a bit frustrating because then you have to really coordinate. So that's a letdown on the app. But most of the time we just walk in and book it. It's if something new's coming out and I tend to want to see it like within the first week, that's when I tend to book. So the ODEON one for me has so far been superb. Like the way I worked it out is although in the summer I didn't go as much, it worked out the fact that I'd been so much in the earlier on in the year and so much towards the end of the year that it sort of balances out. For example, from the start of this year, so from the 1st of January when I went to see Star Wars again, I've seen 7 films including that one. Now, to put it into perspective, it's about £10, £11 for a cinema ticket, unless you go on like, I think it's the Meerkat movies is Tuesday and Wednesday, and I think at ODEON it's a Monday discount. So aside from factoring that, it's really cheap. So in theory, if I'd been to see 7 months within that, 7 films within 2 months there, I would have spent about £70 to £77, and that's a lot, even if you were going to get food. I mean, I tend not to buy food every time I go because we go so much, but on the treat that you do, and then you're spending like £10 on food, it does add up. Whereas with my Limitless, with it being £17.99, so £18, so I've basically spent £36 for the movie, so I'm getting it pretty much at half the price, which is absolutely insane really when you think about it. And it's definitely value for money. You cannot argue that if you use it. If you're a casual cinema goer and you're not that bothered about going to the cinema and seeing films, then potentially this would not be the product at all for yourself. If you love films, if you're desperate to see everything that comes out, I know Marvel always release a lot of films throughout the year. There's always a lot of comic book films. There's also a lot of Disney films that tend to come out. I know we've just had Coco, which I saw, which I thought was fantastic, came out. I don't know what else is coming out. I'm sure there's a live action this year, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it would be. I don't know. But as a whole, like if you feel like there's a lot of films you like going to the cinema to see, or if you just like the idea of having something to do, I suppose when you have that Limitless you feel obliged to use it as well, which is always good. So between all of us, I don't think any of us have regretted getting it, which is also positive. By the way, this isn't a sponsored video. I just wanted to talk about it because I know how frustrating it is sometimes when you haven't got, when you sat at home and you're like, oh, what do I do? Everything's so expensive. Like you go bowling, it's like £10 each. You go to the cinema, it's £10 each. You go for food and that's like £20 each. You know, little things like that. So it's kind of me suggesting things to do that in the long term, although it does cost, is a lot cheaper for you and it gives you an option. Now we'll move on to the Cineworld one. The reason I got the ODEON one is the ODEON, I don't live too far from my local ODEON, whereas I think the Cineworld is a bit of a drive away for me, so in terms of petrol, it's not worth it. I went onto the Cineworld website, so it's £17.90 I think, which shows there's a 9p difference. Okay. Alright, because what they do, and ODEON do this as well, is you can apply for a subscription including London or excluding London. Now obviously I went for excluding, I live in Newcastle, and I think if I went to London I probably wouldn't go to the cinema, so I didn't see the point in paying the extra because it's on Cineworld. I don't know about ODEON the difference. On Cineworld it's saying it's £20.40 for 12 months minimum, including London, and then without London it's £17.90, so it's a 9p difference between Odeon and Cineworld, and given the travel time and the cost of travel, the Odeon one's definitely more value for money for myself. Obviously where you live might be slightly different, you might have a Cineworld right next door to yourself rather than an Odeon. I'm not sure if you do it. I'm just gonna have a little look. No, no, View don't offer it at the moment, so it is just Odeon and Cineworld, which I'm surprised, but View can be quite cheap anyway. I think we have one in the city centre, and they're charging, like, they do £3 movie nights, but obviously that means you're limited to go on a specific night, so that can be quite restraining, whereas this, there's no limit on what day you can go on. There's no limit on how many films you can see on it, and I think that's the same with the Cineworld. The only thing I think I'm aware of is that you can't book more than 2 films in advance on it, which, you know, how many films are you going to book in advance? I think I've only ever had like one no, the only time I had 2 was when I had a Screen Unseen and Star Wars, so that's probably not going to be too much of a difficult problem for you. So my overall thoughts: the Cineworld card and the Odeon card are definitely really good schemes. It gets people in the cinema, which I think is a dying art, and it's a shame because going to the cinema is such a good experience. You get to see a film as it should be seen in a big screen with correct sound system, and it just adds so much more to it. So yeah, for me this is a good way of getting people into the door. I think people don't realise how much they can save with it, because if you go to the cinema twice a month, you're making your money back on the card, which is good. So we go at least twice, and like I've said, we've already been 7 times. I think my housemate's been 1 more than me because they went to see The Greatest Showman and I didn't. But yeah, as a whole, I would definitely recommend it. If you're into films, you love going to the cinema, then this is absolutely the scheme for you. If you're not that big into films and you're not bothered if you go out and see them at the cinema, and you're not really desperate to see the latest Marvel film or DC film or even the latest Star Wars or Disney film, I know like 3 of those pretty much are Disney, but never mind, then maybe it's not for yourself. But as a whole, as a time filler for when you're not as rich as you are at the start of the month when you get paid, it is definitely a product I would recommend. It definitely has my approval of it, and going forward, I've already renewed my membership. I'm going to keep using it, and I can't see at any point me not wanting to have one. And now that I've had it and experienced it, it's without a doubt definitely one of the products I would have for the rest of my life, providing cinemas still offer it. So yeah guys, that was my little video about the Odeon and Cineworld passes. I obviously focus more on Odeon from my own experience. Cineworld, I've never used their card, so I don't know what sort of bonuses they have to it. I think they do the offer on food as well. I think there's exclusions on films as well, but I've not looked through the terms and conditions. Going forward, if you like this kind of video, if you want to see more about movies, maybe if you want to hear me talk about movies, then that's fine, that's something I could do. Give a comment down below, or give a like to this video so I know that this is sort of the genre that you're interested in. As a whole, I will bring out another video next Sunday. I believe, to give you a bit of a heads up, it will be a Primark haul video. So yeah, thank you again so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!